So welcome. My name is Harald Leitmüller. I'm the CTO, as you heard. What does a CTO in Austria do at Microsoft actually? My preferred title would be Chief Evangelist Officer, because my team is more or less all about IT evangelism. But unfortunately, this acronym is already taken by my boss of the boss. So CTO means that we help our customers and partners to adopt new technologies. And therefore, we have a scope. This scope lies about 2 to 5 years in the future. So we try to bring new technologies to the market, help our customers to deal with the risk and to set up the right context to be successful in such new projects. And to be honest here, when adopting new technology, there's always risk involved. And my goal is to share this risk between Microsoft, the partners, and our customers. And currently, cloud computing is our main focus. It has been the focus for more than 1 year, actually, but now I would say it's the hot time where all of the customers, everybody wants to know more about cloud computing, what it's all about, and how can we deal with it. And I thought for today, I would like to share some of Microsoft's cloud strategy, some of the services, and perhaps a model I have found that should help you decide how and when you could adopt cloud services for you. And I'm sure some of you already has done so. Normally, when a cloud computing session starts, the first thing we talk about is the definition of cloud, and so do I. And I'm sure you will find a lot of different definitions on the internet from various analysts, consulting organizations, and so on. And I just brought up one of these. To sum it up, it's more or less internet scale. It's about connecting devices and endpoints over the internet and so on. But you could also have had different perspectives on this topic. One could be everybody's betting his company on cloud computing, so I have to do it also. A second one could be, it's more flexible, perhaps it's cheaper. Is that the way to save costs at the end? Or a totally different perspective could be perhaps for a startup organization, I want to grow slowly, I don't want to invest upfront a lot of assets, I just want to have operational expenses. That could be cloud computing. So whatever you look, you will find a lot of ideas what cloud computing is. I would say it's an upcoming, it's a new paradigm. We are in year 2 currently, and normally it takes 5 years then until a paradigm is mainstream. So you have at least 3 years ahead until you will see everything is running more or less in competition with cloud services. I also want to share with you a more formal model about this. And I have to share some credits from Simon Wardley. He is in the Leading Edge Forum at CSC in Kent in UK. And he came up with a very interesting cloud adoption model or lifecycle model I want to show you, which for me at the end was the only model I've seen so far that makes cloud relevant for me. Because we always talk about new technology, well, how do I have to use it? Is it relevant for me? Just wait until it will be relevant at the end. So, what's this all about? Before I dig into this, I want to show you this first. Since 1995, Microsoft runs a bunch of cloud services. You will see very big numbers here, millions of users, millions of transactions, and so on. So that's not new for us. And the first feedback we get from our customers, what's really new about cloud computing? We have done this for so long. What has changed? What's the market condition that changes, and so on. So believe me, we have a lot of technical experience to run cloud services, as our competitors do. It's a well-known technical model, more or less. What we need currently to drive the adoption broadly is business attitude, that the customers recognize this has a lot of benefits for them and it has a competitive advantage to adopt. And how you should think about this is this activity lifecycle model all about. If you look at your organization, your company, and map out all your activities you're carrying out day by day, as you can plot it in this diagram. This diagram works this way. On the vertical axis, you scale things like you do once or very often. And on the horizontal axis, if this activity is standardized or not. If it's not activity and you do it not very often, it may be a very innovative activity. You do it once. If it's successful, you start doing it more and more, and again, and it moves up this S-curve. And if you plot all your activities, they will be distributed around this curve more or less. On the upper right corner, you will see all the highly standardized activities like paying your employees, sending emails, and things like that. On the left side, the more innovative one-shot activities you need to do on a daily basis. I call this the activity lifecycle model because activities tend to move up this line. If the activities make sense, if you do it more often, you try to standardize, you introduce processes and standards in your organization, and you push these activities up the line. So that's your map of your organization, more or less. I want to share with you some forces that are here. We call the activities that go up this line commoditization. I'm sure you have heard this term already. What does this mean? If there's more demand on doing such things, it's one force that drives it up in the ubiquity dimension. On the other side, you have to improve this activity if you do it more and more, to be more efficient, more or less. Or another aspect could be it gets more widespread used, or it has to be more feature complete if it's a standardized activity. So what's interesting about this model? That's a normal force that's working here in the ecosystem, in the market, that drives all this activity up this line. At the end, you can split this in two areas. The bottom left area, that's where your competitive advantage comes from. This is the innovative stuff you should do. You should focus on. That's the future of your organization. If you do interesting things here and drive this activity up the line, you generate new opportunities for you in the future. But on the other end of this line, there lies cost of doing your business. You have to do these activities. You have to pay your employees. You have to send emails. You have to do CRM and so on. But currently, we're all talking about optimizing this area, saving cost, outsourcing, and things like that. That lies all on the upper right corner. So why I'm telling you this? Currently, it's all about optimization. You have to focus on your core competencies, outsource everything else, get enough freedom to be innovative, to focus on the future. That lies on the left bottom. And here comes cloud computing to the table. If you look at the cloud services that are available currently, they are starting on the upper right corner because there's the broad demand existing already for these cloud services. Companies are willing to outsource activities that don't have a strategic advantage for the organization. So they are looking first on these activities or bunch of activities like CRM and outsource it or source it in cloud services and so on. It does not make sense to run a cloud service on the lower left corner, at least if you want to scale, if you want to have an advantage out of this. Yeah? I think that's a fundamental force that's shifting us or our organization to cloud, more or less. I think that's very important to understand. If you hear such marketing terms, and I listed this up, save money, simplify my IT, or do more with less, that's more or less the umbrella messaging. That's the marketing. That's the cloud computing marketing. That's the hype you're hearing currently. And therefore, I would like to change the term a little bit. cloud computing is the big abstract stuff. Cloud services is the thing you want to use. You want to leverage, where you want to shift your activities to save cost, to optimize your organization, and get more freedoms to focus on the innovative side. We did some surveys recently. Yesterday, we published an economic impact study for the European Union at the Government Leadership Forum in London. And this is one slide from it, where we asked, I think it was several thousand organizations in Europe, what could they imagine to move to the cloud? And CRM is the top favorite here. Then you see a lot of communication, workloads, and it goes down to data storage, conference tools, and very dedicated stuff here. But there's a distribution, which workload makes sense now and which workload should come later. And that's exactly the sequence we as Microsoft and also some of our competitors are releasing cloud services to the market, because it does not make sense to start with ERP if there's no demand in the market currently available. And so should you think about cloud service, what is this competitive advantage you want to gain and what do you want to optimize here? At the end, you have to take several decisions. It depends in what position you are. If you are a consumer, you want to consume service, if you want to provide service, or just leverage some cost benefits. And there are three possible ways to do it. On the consume side, we call it software as a service. If you consume a cloud email service, that's the easiest way to do. That's a very commodity service, everybody is using it, and it has really no competitive advantage if you run your email server in your office. That's consumption. You can build on it. If you are a startup company, for example, it's very cheap without upfront investment to leverage a cloud platform, build on it, run your service, and scale it as your business grows. And the third one, migrate to it. If you have infrastructure that's too expensive, that's not flexible enough, you can just shift these virtual images to the cloud. That's where most of the cloud vendors are currently working now. Microsoft started top-down. We have these cloud offerings, I'll show you in a minute, that started from the software as a service stack, and now just 1 week ago, we released the infrastructure as a service offerings to the public. This is more or less the full landscape of the cloud, Microsoft Cloud services that are available today. And just let me explain what you see here. On the bottom, these are the traditional Microsoft products. This is the product stack. It's the operating system, some components that makes it as a platform. On the left side, you will see the client products, more or less, that are consuming the services. On the upper level, you see the same stack in the cloud. So what we actually are doing, we are mirroring the offering or extending the offering to a cloud service. You will see the same platform, the same services also on a cloud infrastructure. So you have some choice here. You can say, I run some services on-premise in my data center, or I leverage infrastructure at some hoster and integrate it to my on-premise services, or I go to the public cloud, more or less, and leverage the elasticity and things like that. And the very interesting thing in this model here is that you can combine it. You can say, this mission-critical and very important data I have in my database, I have to run on-premise in my data center because perhaps it's not compliant with legal rules in my country, and run the compute workload in the cloud and combine this. Last week we announced the tight integration features you have here. You can say you can join a cloud node to your domain, have a virtual private network, as it would be in your own data center. It's very elastic, it's easy to maintain, and it's secure. So the thing you should take with you is that we offer you the choice to combine these tiers as it's appropriate for you. And I think that's a very important advantage of the Microsoft Cloud Service many of our customers like and leverage, because when you migrate services to the cloud or your own solutions to the cloud, you have a lot of steps in between. Yeah? You just do not rewrite your software from the scratch and just run it in the cloud. This does not work. There's a lot of risk involved. So you move gradually. The first things we see, people move data to the cloud to do disaster recovery. That's quite easy. Storage in the cloud is very cheap. If you have a failure, you just recover from the cloud. My opinion is that that will change in the next 5 years. In 5 years, you will store your mission-critical recovery data on-premise and recover services in the cloud. But currently, it's the other way around. On the client side, on the software as a service side, Microsoft just announced Office 365. That's the successor of the Business Productivity Online Suite. These are all the Office online products included that you can leverage as you leverage the old Office products, online, offline, whatever you like. And I think in terms of pricing, it's a very compelling offering here. So this is more or less the cloud stack. On the right side, I often get the question, what is this Azure, SQL Azure and Azure all about? That's more or less this platform as a service offering from Microsoft. The advantage here is that Microsoft is managing this infrastructure. It has a service level agreement, an uptime and a connectivity agreement, 99.9% guaranteed. And we also financially back up this service level agreement. If there's a failure, you will get paid for that. When I'm working on projects, it's very important to pick the right workload to move to the cloud. And I thought it would be interesting for you to have at least some references that show what customers are actually doing. And the main things we see here are these 5 types of workloads. So data center extension means more or less that somebody is leveraging the cloud platform to add additional capacity to his data center. Because normally when you plan a data center, you plan it for 90%, that you have some freedom if you have high peak workload and so on. But on average, a data center is only used 10 to 20%, so it's not really effective. And you can outsource some workload here. Application maintenance, that's quite new. We announced last week. That's the virtual data center in the cloud. Microsoft takes care of your instances. We run the basis infrastructure, and you just shift applications that you run on a Windows Server 2008 today to the cloud, and we guarantee the uptime more or less. The new app development, that's what we mainly see in startup organizations. It's cheap. The tools are more or less free. We offer for all startups this 3-year free stack offering for everything, and you can grow as your business grows. The application extensions, that's also very interesting and very cheap aspect, because you don't have to shift an application to the cloud. You can just leverage and add services that are new because of the cloud. It's, for example, these mobile devices. Everybody has smartphones now. Well, most have smartphones now. It's quite easy to add services to the smartphone client and enrich the usability by adding new data endpoints and things like that. That's the stuff you currently would prefer to do in the cloud, because it scales to the mass client demand that you will experience with phones, for example. And the last one I already mentioned, that could be very interesting also for you. Storage in the cloud. Storage is very cheap. You can scale up to petabytes if you want. And if you want to share the data with everybody in the world globally, you have the right infrastructure for that here. Yeah? So don't care about data privacy and things like that, you can leverage the global cloud network instantly to share this cost efficiently. And I think the Associated Press case study we published recently shows a very impressive project, how they leveraged and they reduced their costs actually by 80% leveraging this infrastructure here. One other element I would like to mention, we are not running and maintaining and building the cloud service on our own. It's more or less a partner ecosystem game. We have thousands of partners that extend the services, that move applications and services to the cloud, that integrate the services and so on. And so this week, for example, we announced that Pixar will run RenderMan, for example, in the cloud on our platform. What does this mean? Until now, RenderMan was only available for big studios that could leverage this expensive infrastructure to render on their own servers. And now you can say as a startup, I just want to render in the cloud. I don't have an upfront investment. I just pay per use for the rendering service they are offering. And that's also a very interesting example, I would say, what partners and Microsoft do together to make new types of services available. At the end, you will see that you have to take a decision. A decision is you take it every day. You have to compare the risks, and there are some new risks with cloud. I just listed the main up. You have to think about what's changing, that's the confusion. How do you govern your service? What's about trust? Trust in the vendor, trust in the partner that's providing the service, for example, security, transparency, and so on. And there's this traditional outsourcing risk, sustainability. How can you plan for long term? What's about competition? Is there a vendor lock-in if I choose Microsoft and Microsoft fails in 5 years? What's the next I can go to? Is there a second source available or not? Is there a standard for that? And how do I control it? Or how do I control it? Especially in the public cloud. Public cloud is the least denominator for the global service market. So I cannot be very specific in the service level agreement. If I need this, I go to my local hoster. That's the better choice, I would say. But on the other side, you have a lot of benefits. You have these pay-per-use benefits without a lot of upfront investment. You can focus on your core competencies, as I said in this model. They have this economy of scale, because this is a huge infrastructure we're running here with millions of servers. I can promise you it's much, much cheaper than if you run your own data center. There are cost reductions between 60 and 40% at least. The speed to market, you just deploy the service and it's available globally, especially if you leverage also content delivery networks. So we have more than 20 nodes globally that have high-speed content delivery functionality that also helps to embrace the global market quite easy. And this accelerated innovation is more or less this activity lifecycle model again. If you outsource this cost of doing business, you can accelerate your innovation activities. You can do more in the core context that's important for you in the future. And I mentioned several times reducing cost. But at the end, you want to move up this curve. If you stay there, you will see more and more competitive pressures from these organizations that have already moved up this line a little bit, because they scale easier, they accelerate innovation, they reduce their cost, and they focus on their core competency. So I would like to invite you to do this with Microsoft. I and my team, we are available whenever you connect with Microsoft and have interesting projects. We really want to work with you. Our offering is more or less free. So we pick and choose the most interesting projects and invest in that and do some prototyping and proof of concepts to help you move into the cloud more or less. I can promise you we focus on quality, not on quantity here. We pick the right offering. We also invest in projects that are more or less a very compelling reference case for us, and we offer you a global infrastructure that you can work with. I hope I could give you a short overview about cloud strategy from Microsoft, about the model you should think about, and some ideas that might help you in future to take cloud decisions. Thank you.